Greetings and good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're going to go back to the series we've been running now. I guess it's this will be the eighth episode, so it'll be 2 months that we've been running this. And I think we actually missed, no, I don't think we did. I think we missed some episodes of other shows, but not on this one. So this is the Battle of the Masterpiece albums, and what this is all about is I've taken all the Masterpiece albums in my own personal collection. So I have 61 Masterpiece albums, and I've put them into 16 battles, with the final battle having 5 albums to cover that extra one. So we will be halfway through after today. So all of these albums to me are masterpieces. They've all been put in my masterpiece collection. So there's not a lot of difference between all of them. And my main purpose for doing this is that I'm really curious to see if the albums I've ranked as my best albums of all time are actually my best albums, or am I being more nostalgic than anything else? So I want to make sure that I'm not deluding myself about some things. So what I've been doing is I've been listening to each of the albums. I give it a kind of a score, and then at the end I rank them. So we've got 4 again today, and I'll give you them now. So the first one will be Yes's Drama, released in 1980. The Rolling Stones' Some Girls, released in 1978. Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell, also released in 1980. And the final album in the set will be Minstrels in the Gallery from Jethro Tull, released in 1975. So basically, I'll be talking about each of the albums, and then at the end, after I've done all my discussion about each of these albums, I will give you my ranking as according to how I see them. So this isn't about who sold the most, or who had the most, or who was the most popular, or who was commercially the most successful, or who is the most notoriety and who has the most iconics. None of that. This is just basically all these albums I love. I'm just trying to determine if I love them as much as I always love them, and which ones are really at the top of the list. So the first album we're going to talk about today is Minstrels in the Gallery. This was released in 1975. This particular version of it has all 8 of the original songs, plus an additional, I believe, 5 songs in the bonus tracks, which I've come to like quite a bit. Some of these bonus tracks, like the live version of Cold Wind of Valhalla, Summer Day Sands, among my favorite Jethro Tull stuff, So anyways, there are, like I said, 7 tracks in total on the original album. It starts out with Minstrels in the Gallery, which is a well-known song for those of you who have been Jethro Tull fans. You know this is one of their better tracks. Absolutely killer track. Can't say enough about it. It's a great start to this album. I've never been overly in love with this particular album cover. It's a little bit stark. Well, it's not stark. It's just, I guess it's supposed to be like medieval in period. And I guess it does have that. It's just kind of dull color, right? But other than that, the album is great. The next song on here, Cold Wind of Valhalla, absolutely exceptional track. It's got a little bit of that heaviness to it, but I wouldn't call it a heavy. This is very progressive, this album, I think. Black Satin Dancer, this is a bit of an underrated track on here. I think the reason I like this particular track so much is that Ian Anderson is showing his ability to do more than just belt out rock songs here. He's showing his vocal range. Requiem, another decent track. One White Duck, nothing at all. This is a quirky track, but it's a killer track. I like it a lot. And then you get to the big epic track on the album, Baker Street Muse. This is a great track. It's got four Sweets, Pygmy, and the Horrors. Nice little tune. Crash Barrier, Waltzer, and Mother England's Reverie. Sorry, Revere. Lots of absolute killer instrumental on this track. The guitar is fantastic. This may be one of Martin Barre's better electric guitar bits, though he has many of them. This one's I think one of the better ones. I think the overall beat, if you want, or melody is fantastic. It's a really catchy song. I think it's one of their best songs. I'm always amazed that this one never ends up on any of their greatest kind of hits things, but it's mostly due, I think, to it being such a long track. And then Grace is the final track. Yeah, so an excellent album, well worth your investigating if you're getting into Jethro Tull. This has got to be, to me, one of the 4 or 5 best out there, and I love it. So, Minstrels in the Gallery from Jethro Tull. The next one up was my introduction to this band, Black Sabbath. This is my first Black Sabbath album, Heaven and Hell. Got it because I wanted to get into Black Sabbath. I'd heard some of their stuff, of course. I knew Paranoid, I knew War Pigs, knew Iron Man. I heard them all on the radio and stuff. But this is very different than those albums. So you've got a much heavier album here, if you can believe it. It's heavier. It's much more straightforward metal sounding than their other stuff. And you have a vocalist who's very different than the original vocalist. He has a totally different sound. I think vocally he's probably vastly superior to Ozzy Osbourne, but Ozzy has that classic Sabbath sound to his voice, so you can't really compare the two, and I wouldn't, but this is a fantastic album. The first 6 tracks on here I love. Maybe the weakest of those 6 tracks, probably Lady Evil. Very heavy song, though, with a heavy bass part to it, which makes it kind of unique. Neon Nights, of course, is a fast-paced, crashing metal song. When I first listened to this album, I had this up full volume and put this album on, and this song comes crashing out of the speakers. I loved it right away. For a long time, it was my favorite Black Sabbath song. Haven't listened to it much in recent years, but I still like it. Children of the Sea, very haunting. The acoustic part on here showing a little bit of Iommi's range here. But just absolutely haunting. I think Dio's voice is best on this track of all the other tracks on the album. Lady Evil, of course, like I said, very heavy, menacing bass sound to it. Heaven and Hell, of course, probably the most well-known track on the album. Gets played a lot. When Dio came back to the band later, and Ozzy was also touring with them. When they were touring with Ozzy, they were Sabbath. When they were touring with Dio, they were Heaven and Hell. They took it from the title of this album. Wishing Well has long been one of my favorite, maybe my favorite track on this album. Took over from Neon Nights at some point after I got burned out on it, and has kind of remained at the top of the specter here. I love Dio's voice here. I love that little guitar bit that Iommi does, and also the absolute crushing kind of heavy riff and guitar tone on this album. Die Young. Initially, it wasn't one of my favorite tracks, but over the years, it's become one of my favorite tracks in here. It's got that kind of quiet sounding part, and then this menacing, heavy stuff that comes out of it, just crashing and very fast, like almost like a speed metal type thing. Walk Away. I thought this would have been probably the song that would have made the radio, because it's kind of commercial sounding. Not a bad track, though, for that. Lonely Is the Word. Probably the only track on the album that I've never really warmed up to. I don't dislike it, though. It's a good track. So that's Heaven and Hell from Black Sabbath. Next up, the Rolling Stones, Some Girls. So some people might say, well, there's a lot of other better Rolling Stone albums, and I'm not going to disagree with them. But this was my first one, which I got probably around the beginning of the CD collection time. And for the longest time, other than Love It Live, which was a live album I had from them, this was the only one I ever owned and listened to for probably 3 or 4 years. And then I went back and I got Emotional Rescue, even though it was years after it's released. When it first came out, I did listen to it. I had it on tape. But for me, those two albums were for the longest time the only Stones until recent years, until I started the channel, that I actually had any other Stone stuff. This is a great one. It's kind of an interesting melange of stuff going on here. But it's got a lot of really, really strong tracks on it. For me, Beast of Burden. I'm looking here because they don't have it on those. Miss You, of course, is the most well-known track on here, but Beast of Burden is fantastic. The title track, Some Girls, another fantastic track. Lies is on here. Some deep stuff too. So, and you also have Shattered on here, which is maybe my favorite Rolling Stones song. It's up there anyways if it isn't. Yeah, lots of really good stuff on here. Classic sounding Stones. A little bit of different sounding here. So you got some poppy stuff. You've got some heavier stuff like Shattered. You've also got some kind of country-ish feeling stuff on here as well. Yeah, really good. Love this album. So, Some Girls by the Rolling Stones. And the last album that we're going to talk about is this one, Yes is Drama. Also my first, I think that may be the case with all four of these albums. No, Minstrels in the Gallery wasn't my first Jethro Tull, but the other three are all first. The first Black Sabbath, first Rolling Stones, first Yes album, Drama here. Very different than a lot of the... oh, it's got a crack in it. I didn't see that. Yeah. So yeah, very different sounding than its predecessors, which were dominated by John Anderson's voice and by, in most cases, by Rick Wakeman's keyboards. Not so much here. This is a very different sounding album. Almost has a little bit of that new wave-ish sound to it, but much heavier than earlier Yes. And this is the one album that many people cite, and I believe they're right, about Steve Howe's guitar playing. Heavy tone here. Not something you hear a lot from Steve Howe. He does do it periodically here and there throughout their catalog, but this is the only album where it's dominating. You've got the song Machine Messiah. It's a mini epic, heavy song. The bass is fantastic. Steve Howe's guitar tone is fantastic. I love Trevor Horn's voice. He doesn't sound like John Anderson, but he has a different sounding voice, but it suits this music, which is very kind of, bordering on that space feeling at times too. Absolutely great. White Car, of course, is the one track that's short. Most people dismiss it. I like this track. It's one of the ones I sing a lot. Does It Really Happen? This is the underrated track on the album. Bass is fantastic. Song is great. I love the drums on this particular track by Alan White. Yeah, it's just, to me, it's an underrated track. It deserves more attention. Into the Lens is kind of a quirky song. It's not really a Yes song, although it has that Yes. It has Yes flavor to it, obviously, but I think it was more of a Buggles song, which is the two members, Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes, came from the Buggles, and there's you can hear the influence on them on this particular track. You got Run Through the Light, which kind of got hauntingly eerie sound to it, very different sounding than any other tracks on the album. You get to hear some of the different sounds that Jeff Downes brings to the band. And then, of course, it ends up with Tempest Fugit. Absolutely incredible track. Probably the best track on here, I think. The bass tone and the guitar are absolutely killer. Chris Squire with that bass run that he does on here is absolutely magnificent. And you got Steve Howe with his screeching guitar solo and screeching guitar sounds on this song. I think this is a heavy song. I think it's one of my favorite Yes songs. So there you go, Drama. Okay, so now it's time to rank them. Rank them the way we see it. So I don't think I'm overly surprised how this turned out. It was very close. There was no outstanding album of the four, but they were separated fairly easily. So the first one, or the bottom one, will be the Rolling Stones' Some Girls. I like it. It's a great album. Made a masterpiece with me. I don't think it stands up quite as well as the other three. So it's definitely coming here at fourth. Number 3, I love this album. It's a close. All 3 of the next albums are fairly close. This one just gets edged out, but I still listen to it a lot. Drama by Yes. Definitely against many albums, this would win for sure, but against these ones, maybe not so much, but great album. Next up, I almost went reverse on these two. I thought about it, but as good as this album is, Minstrels in the Gallery, with its Cold Winds of Valhalla, Minstrels in the Gallery, and Baker Street Muse, along with the extras. I think the extras might push it over, but we're not doing extras, so I'm not going to say much about them. But definitely a great album, going to be my number 2. And then Heaven and Hell, one of those nostalgic albums for me. My first Black Sabbath album, still has what it takes to win, and so it's here making it. I do love this photo at the back as well. So it's going to win today and go on to the finals. I think overall the top songs on this mesh together to make a stronger reason to make this number 1 than the other albums. That's all there is basically to it. This is, of course, was produced by Martin Birch. So fantastic album. I love it. And it's going to win today and go on to the next round. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this battle of the masterpiece albums. This is installment number 8. Please hit the like and subscribe. And if you want to rank these 4 albums according to how you would like them, if you were buying them and listening to me, you can do that as well. And I hope you understand that these are my masterpieces. That doesn't mean that they're the best definitive albums by any of these bands. This is just the way I see them. Okay, so have yourself a good day, a good evening, and goodbye.